In eighth grade, I got suspended because I accidentally helped people cheat on a test. I was actually trying to get them to fail the test. So this happened in the third quarter of eighth grade in the year 1999. And I will always remember 1999 because it was when the universe gifted us with the banger, the timeless masterpiece, Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. And I bring that up for two reasons. One, I just want you to know that piece of information. Free Britney, glad that worked out. And I remember that song distinctly because I was so secretly obsessed with that song. And when I look back on that time and that song, I remember just how gay I was. And I mean, I'm still gay, I'm still really gay now, but I was really gay then. And being gay in eighth grade, entering puberty is kind of challenging, even in 2023. It's especially challenging at a private Catholic high school, or Catholic school, eighth grade. And it's even more challenging when you've been going to the same school for 8 years with the same core group of 30 kids. So needless to say, socially, things were not very fun. And they were so not fun, in fact, that I don't remember almost anything from fourth grade. Because as my mom told me, many years ago now, I would literally go home crying every day in fourth grade from all of the bullying. So it probably should not surprise anyone to hear that by eighth grade, I was totally an outcast, a textbook definition of a loner. Now, thankfully, I really loved learning because there was nothing the heck else I was doing. And I was really good at these things called book tests. And book tests are these, you take a test on a book. You're welcome. So you would pick out a book from the library. You would sign up you would read it. You would take the test on it. It's a 10-question multiple choice test. And if you got 7 of those questions correct, you passed that test. You needed to pass 4 every quarter in order to get an A. And so essentially you needed to do 16 for the year. And the most interesting thing about book tests, I know very riveting stuff book tests are, is that you could read ahead of time. So you were not restricted to only passing 4 in a quarter. So by the third quarter of eighth grade, I already had 15 done. Remember, I wasn't doing much else. And there was one day in that winter, I overheard 2 students talking about how they were so concerned that I don't know how we're gonna get to 4 because we're really behind and blah, blah, blah. And these were 2 of the quote unquote smart kids. And I'm glad Matt brought up hormones because I don't know what in that moment got triggered. I want to blame raging teenage hormonal brain, but in that moment I saw an opportunity to exact my 8th grade revenge for all of the bullying for the past 8 years on these 2 students. Now, I do feel bad. One of them was not actually that mean to me. The other student, though, was the type of student whose parents thought that they were God's gift to humanity. All the teachers loved them, but secretly they were one of the meanest people on the playground. And this student regularly made it a point to call out any mistake I would make, loudly and publicly. So maybe this was mainly against that student. So I developed this mastermind plot. I thought I was gonna be this super slick person. I was gonna ruin their lives. They're gonna have this blemish on their stellar academic record. And so I came up with a plan. I'm gonna convince them to take a book test on a book that I've never read. I'm gonna convince them that I will furnish them with the correct answers, and then they will find out that they were not gonna pass it, and then they were going to struggle, and then they were going to have this horrible life. At least for the time being, at least for that period of time. And so I decided that if I'm going to do this though, I need to really commit. So I went to the library And I don't know if it was like on display or something, but the book that I chose for me was like, I'm like, this is the perfect book. For me, this book represented like peak masculinity boyhood that I wanted to give a big middle finger to. That title of the book was Old Yeller. So I check out this book. I didn't read it. I read the back cover, I think. I still haven't read it. I don't plan to ever read it. I signed up for the test, take the test, give the answers to the two students, and then I just sit back and wait. Book tests are announced, the results, every week. And because of the timing, I knew I was going to be in the batch for that week, but the other two students who had taken it were going to be in the batch the following week. And so your name only gets read, though, if you pass the test. And so I was looking forward to having my name not read aloud, and I could not wait to look at those two students' faces and see their disappointment and shock and like, oh, I don't know what happened. I thought I would pass it. I don't know. I'm so sorry. Well, Ms. Petrig is reading out the names of the students who passed, and who was the last name read that day? Nicholas Franco, Old Yeller, 7 out of 10. Now, looking back, I'm like, why would I copy? And I gave the two students my answers that I wrote on that test. And I'm like, why wouldn't I have just made up, they're all multiple choice, A through D. I could have just given them literally any random set of answers, but I copied the ones that I submitted and gave to Sister James L. But I'm like, but it's okay. It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay. I only gave them to two students, and we're 3 of the smart kids, so no one's gonna suspect anything, and they definitely did not give those answers to anyone else, so everything is gonna work out and it's gonna be fine. And if I could do a Morgan Freeman impression, I would use it to say everything would not be fine. So it wasn't just the 3 of us who took Old Yeller for the Old Yeller's book test. There were 6 of us who had taken it by that time. And it wasn't just 6 of us who had signed up and took it. There were 10 other students who had signed up to take the test. And you know there was only one copy of that damn book in that library. And so Sister James L., I'm sure, was like, well, this looks a little suspicious. So we get called, the 6 students who took the test, we all get called to the principal's office, but I'm like, and I'm of course like shaking and trembling, but I'm like, wait. No, I just have to tell them the truth. The truth will set me free. I just have to tell them. I was not trying to help them cheat. I was trying to help them fail. And so, like, I shouldn't be in as big a trouble as they are. And that's exactly what I did. My 8th grade teacher, Miss Petrig, and our principal, I was in the office. I said exactly what I told you all, probably a little less, probably a little bit more shaky in voice. And, they didn't believe me. And I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't believe me either, because it's a ridiculous story that sounds made up. So we all get dismissed for the rest of the day, and then we are suspended for 1 day, and that was the following day. And I was definitely Kim K ugly crying for most of those 36 hours. And if you were here for my story last year, you will, I regularly Kim K ugly cry. It's like a thing in my life. And I did feel really bad. I felt really bad for my parents because, again, we had gone to school with the same 30 families for 8 years. And so there was some damage that I had done to the Franco family name. Sorry again to my parents for bringing it up 15 or however many years later. I didn't realize how much personal integrity and credibility I had built up over 8 years until I no longer had it. And I did feel really bad for getting 5 other people suspended. But I guess if I look back, I kind of achieved my goal. Maybe more than I wanted to, but I mean, I guess when I do something, I do it really well. I don't know. But I do want to say that for the record, 3 of us eventually became doctors. So I think we survived, and I think we are all fine. And I did feel really bad. The last person I felt really bad for was Miss Petrig, who had been looking out for me that whole year. I really looked up to her. And what I found out years later is that she was looking out for me almost the entire time that I was at that school. And that was like my, okay, bye. Here's my, big, see you later. And then I want to fast forward you, though, before I go to the end of the year. So a couple months later, there are these things called book test awards. And there are these, huge deals. And, the principal comes into the class, and she has these, certificate holders, and there's, embossed glossy paper with, you completed the book test award early before a certain date, and, blah, 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 and this whole big thing. And so it was book test award day. And I will never forget the look on my principal's face when she opened up the certificate holder in front of her and read out the name Nicholas Franco. After all of my criminal masterminding, after literally being suspended related to book tests, who got a book test award? This gay criminal mastermind.